Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and thanks for watching. Before I get into the program, I want to thank again all of the viewers in the state for watching our show, but most of all, our viewers on WGAL-TV, where we're the #1 show at 11 and competitive with the national shows. All of our viewers, great to have you on board. Thanks for watching. Coming up, our exclusive interview with the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Governor Ed Rendell.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, we're going to have a couple of weeks where we're going to interview the governor of the state. We're going to, first of all, talk about the presidential campaign. We know he doesn't have anything. He's not been involved in this at all. We'll hear about this. And then secondly, I want to talk with the governor on the following show about his legislative program, where he thinks it's going. Governor is always welcome.
Nice to be here, Terry.
All right, Governor, let's sort of get to this end game here. I mean, there's been so much. We've had the longest primary probably in modern Pennsylvania history. It's coming up on 7 weeks. Where does this go in your party? You've been chairman of the national party. You're a major leader. Tell us what you think at the end of the day, what Pennsylvania is going to mean for both Hillary Clinton and for Barack Obama.
Well, the simplest question to answer is what happens if Barack Obama wins.
Right.
If Barack Obama wins, it becomes very difficult for Hillary Clinton to have any rationale to going forward, any way that she could put together the pieces to carry the delegates at the convention. So that would be the simplest result. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Senator Clinton's going to win here and win a significant majority. Now, of course, the national press, the Obama people have done a great job spinning, no, we can't win in Pennsylvania.
Right.
I even had a national reporter, you'll get a kick out of this, said, well, if Hillary Clinton doesn't get 60% of the vote, then it's a huge defeat for her. I said, 60% of the vote in Pennsylvania, if you win by 6 or 7%, it's a landslide.
Yeah.
So I think Hillary Clinton's going to win by 6, 7, 8%, 5% in that range. A very, very solid victory to put with Ohio, Michigan, and Florida. And she's going to be able to say to the superdelegates, look, the electoral math, and remember, we elect presidents by electoral college votes. It doesn't matter that Senator Obama's won 28 states and Senator Clinton's won 14. Her 14 have more electoral votes than his 28.
Your argument would be that he's won most of the southern states that are going to be tough for a Democrat to win.
Or states like Wyoming and Utah.
West,
no Democrat will ever win those.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So that's the argument for Senator Clinton as she pivots off a nice victory in Pennsylvania. But then the next primaries come 2 weeks later in Indiana and North Carolina. And Senator Clinton needs to split those primaries, needs to win in Indiana. She's probably not going to win in North Carolina. And that's sort of a
likely scenario, I think.
Possibly, although it's close in Indiana, but that's possible. Then the next 2 weeks are Kentucky and West Virginia, where she's getting almost 70% of the vote in the early polls. So if she can win Pennsylvania, split Indiana and North Carolina, do overwhelming victories in Kentucky and West Virginia, then if you're a superdelegate, you've got to start scratching your head and say, I want to win in the fall.
Yeah. Look, I have a question for you, and maybe I'm alone on this. And we don't get any evidence in the poll. We know that there are some voters who are getting a little, nervous. Well, if it's Obama, I don't know if I'll vote for him. I might vote for McCain. And the opposite, and you've heard this. But we're seeing tremendous enthusiasm among Democratic voters out there. Here's my point. What is wrong with letting this I'm a neutral. I'm not for anyone.
Right.
Why can't this process play out? There's 7 months to the election.
It's unbelievable. And, it's interesting. A lot of that I blame on the media. The media has perpetuated this idea that this is ruining the Democratic Party. To the contrary, if you look at Senator Obama in debates now, he's an infinitely better debater than he was last year. He has improved. Right. This has made him a better candidate. You look at Senator Clinton. The vulnerabilities and the way she's fought back from the brink of defeat have made her a much more likable person, and she's, I think, a stronger candidate for the general election. And poor John McCain, he couldn't get noticed if he walked down Broad Street in Philadelphia in spandex.
I understand.
So I think this is actually an advantage for us. And look, are we going to lose if Senator Obama is the nominee? Are there some women voters who are going to be disappointed and stay at home? Yes. If Senator Clinton's the nominee, are there some young voters and maybe some African-American voters who are going to stay home? Yes. But Senator McCain is going to lose some of the far right-wing voters, too.
Right. Well, let's proceed a little bit with this. Is it your understanding, I mean, you hear all this about, we all know that the 795 superdelegates, potentially, if both stay in, will play a real critical role. We all understand that. There are about 300, maybe fewer, as we talk, who have not made up their mind. Do you think that the superdelegates ought to be independent as the theory, as they were originally designed to be, or do you think they ought to go with their states? And I'd love to have Senators Cheri, Kennedy
and Governor Richardson
and Duval Patrick, right? Their states. What are they? What's your whole thinking?
Well, the answer is, look, the Obama folks are always saying when they talk about Michigan and Florida, and we want Michigan and Florida to vote, they say you can't change the rules. Okay, let's take that premise. You can't change the rules. The rules have been for the last 4 or 5 conventions that superdelegates are free to cast their votes in their own judgment who's likely to be the strongest candidate in the fall. That's what they should do. I mean, you can spin this a ton of ways. The Obama people say, well, we've won the most pledged delegates. We'll have won the popular vote. Right. The Clinton folks, you just heard me spin, that we won the electoral college states. But if Florida and Michigan had voted, if you counted their votes, Senator Clinton would have won the popular vote, not Senator Obama. So it's up to the superdelegates to decide who's the strongest.
That's the theory, and that's why when they were created in 1980, I agree with you on that. All right, we're talking with the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Edward G. Rendell. We'll be back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Pennsylvania Medical Society. Doctors and patients, preserve the relationship. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, this is the first of 2 interviews with Governor Rendell. As everybody knows, Governor Rendell was for Hillary Clinton. If you've been alive and well, turned on your TV, right, Governor? They know, who you've been for, no doubt. All right, look, every place I go, I hear this question now. How is Governor Casey and Governor Rendell and Senator Casey doing? How are you guys handling all this? I mean, I know both of you pretty well.
We have been good friends, and we still are. And look, I disagree with people who say, Governor Casey promised us he would stay out of this and he'd try to bring people together. He has every right to change his mind. And if he was touched by what Senator Obama said in Philadelphia, then he should have done what he did. And nobody should be criticizing him for it, number one. And Bob Casey has every right to be for Obama. I believe that Hillary Clinton would be the better president. But one thing that's clear, and we said this on Meet the Press this past Sunday, is that when it's over, we're going to be together. I spoke at the Cumberland County Democrats last Sunday, too, and I said, look, some of you are for Obama, some of you are for Clinton. I have a deal. When one of you loses, one set of you loses, you're going to have 10 days to be ticked off. And then after that, you got to get over it. You got to get over it.
I mean, even as it goes, you could give them a couple of months.
No,
I mean,
10 days.
You got 7 months or whatever.
No, we got to get to work for the fall election.
All right. Well, I just was curious about that because I get asked that a lot.
No,
a lot
Bob
of people,
and I are good friends. Continue to be so.
Well, maybe that's the speculation that you would have. You 2 of the top leaders in the state. All right. But you know that's a question people ask.
Bob Novak said we were blood enemies. We're not enemies at all.
Yeah. Well, okay. At any rate, look. Let's talk a little bit about the Pennsylvania primary coming in a week or so, 2 weeks. This has been analyzed to death. 7 weeks. What do you think are going to, if Governor Rendell sat down and said, okay, here are the 3 or 4 things that are going to determine whether Obama or Clinton wins, what would you write down?
Well, first thing, as always, is turnout. I think that the vote here is fairly crystallized. And I think Senator Clinton has a significant lead. Not a huge lead, but a significant lead. That could be overcome, though, if Senator Obama, who will get, my guess is about 60% of the new registrants, if he gets a much larger turnout among his voters than the Clinton forces get among their voters.
And that would be particularly in Philadelphia.
But
maybe the suburbs.
And in some college towns, and some college towns as well. There's no question. If Senator Obama gets a huge turnout, that will inure to his benefit.
Right.
Senator Clinton probably needs a good weather day because her voters tend to be a little older, and a lot of them have voted absentee, but the ones who haven't need a good weather day to get to the polls, for example. If she needs a very strong vote out of the Northeast, I believe she could win Lackawanna and Luzerne, two very big Democratic counties, by 70-30. If that's the case, that'll be hard to overcome.
She's sort of a hometown girl. Her
Sure,
dad was born
and people
up there,
really
and her
feel
uncle
that
was
about
there.
her.
Yeah.
And when we marched in the St. Patty's Day parade in Scranton, it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that, not even for President Kennedy.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Then she's got to do very well in the Southwest. I would say she's got to do 62-38 in the Southwest. And you'll know when you see those votes come in. If she doesn't rack up big margins in Northeast and Southwest, she might have some problems. For Senator Obama, the test is going to be he'll carry the city of Philadelphia maybe 65-35, maybe 68-32. But the key test for the senator will be how he does in the 4 suburban counties. They need to win fairly sizably in the 4 suburban counties. I don't think that's going to happen. In your poll, I think Senator Clinton was actually slightly winning in those 4 counties. Senator Obama would have to do something in the next 2 weeks to significantly reverse that.
Close to 60-40. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna let you go, and you'll come back, and we'll do this. I want to get into your legislative program.
Sure, and where we stand.
Yeah, where you stand. I know that's important to you, but there's a certain irony here that Obama has to do what you did to beat Senator Casey when he ran against you. I mean, because some of his voters are sort of, so we have a lot of fun with this. We go, Governor Casey has to, or Senator Casey has to do what Hillary Clinton needs to do to win, and vice versa for Governor Rendell. What politics is funny. All right, there you have it. When we come back, health care, it's the #3 issue in the state. It's on the minds of a lot of voters, and it's on our minds here at PA Newsmakers. We'll be back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, as you know, we've got this big primary on April 22nd. The health care plans of both candidates are very important. Health care has emerged as one of the central issues in the campaign. Joining me, as often is the case, is Dr. Stuart Shapiro. He's the president and CEO of the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association. He's one of our experts. We call him in on all sorts of... We get you in on every healthcare question we can. All right, doctor, look. Clinton, Obama, they say their healthcare plans are virtually identical with maybe one big exception. To tell our viewers about these health care plans.
47 million Americans without health, adults and children without health insurance in America. 2 million more than 2 years ago. A very serious problem. Obama and Clinton both address it. The major difference, because they both want to expand Medicaid, they both want to expand the programs for kids, is how they treat what is called a mandate. And that is, are people going to be required to buy it, which is what Senator Clinton wants, or are they going to be presented with a host of alternatives that are affordable, which is what Senator Obama wants. And that's the big difference. But the real issue is that those issues are almost in the woodwork. Because once it gets into a congressional debate, those will all flush out. And either of them is really capable of providing the leadership to bring this through.
Let me ask you this question. They all talk sort of nebulously about funding this by getting rid of by letting the Bush tax cuts expire. Do you know any more about how they're going to pay for this? I mean, obviously it's not going to be cheap.
Oh, no, it won't be cheap. And they both have suggested that if you do electronic medical records, you have a more efficient system. And Senator Obama has really said if you have a lot of preventive activities, if you do some of the things that Governor Rendell has done along with the legislature, like using more physician extenders like nurse practitioners and physician assistants, and soon to be, we hope, physical therapy assistants. But it's
you
they
think
they could get the money out of the system. The reality is that's nonsense.
Not for that 47 million.
No, it will inevitably, over time, require a funding base that's going to be new dollars, because you just, despite rhetoric, you can't squeeze it out from what's in the system today, as broken as it is. But there's a bigger issue, or just as big an issue, and that is, how do you deal with the long-term care health care needs of the older Americans, which neither of their plans really address.
And that's the 75 million baby boomers that in the next 30 years, they began, 2 years ago or last year, moving through this great age of 65, which we all want to live to, but nobody wants to talk for. 75 million of us, Medicare and Medicaid, it's a budget buster, isn't it?
It is a bigger budget buster than is health insurance, because Medicare can't cover the long-term care needs, Medicaid won't, Social Security won't, and we need greater systems. It's interesting, though, because we also have plans at the state level.
All right, before we let you go, talk about that plan at the state level. How does the Rendell plan differ, or is it similar to either of these two plans?
It's curious. If you look at it, you compare Rendell's plan to Obama's or to Clinton's, it's actually very close to Obama's. And if Obama's plans were to pass, it appears that the Rendell plan could also be utilized. And unfortunately, Senator Clinton is silent on that issue. Senator Clinton's plan, interestingly enough, is very close to what they implemented in Massachusetts by Governor Romney and the legislature there.
Right. Okay. Before we let you go, and then I want you to come back. I mean, this summer, after we get rid of this primary, let's get, I want to really get into the intricacies of this. The battle over funding for long-term care, where does that stand?
Major deficits in funding. The nursing homes, and where many of the frail elderly receive their care, are losing money on Medicaid every day, based on the under-reimbursement by the state of about $12 a day. And the governor, unfortunately, does not propose in his budget any increases whatsoever.
And you had some rallies, and you're taking that fight to the legislature, right?
I know Governor Rendell's heart, and he's never in the end turned his back on the elderly.
All right, great update as always. All right, it's National Healthcare Decision Day. I want to talk a little bit about that in a moment with our next guest. Stay with us. Back in a moment.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business, with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Penn Future, where we believe that every environmental victory grows the economy, and by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. I'm joined by Cheri Rinehart. She's a vice president with the Hospital and Healthsystem Association. There's a big day coming up. It's April 16th. It's called National Healthcare Decision Day. Cheri, welcome.
Thank you.
Why should our viewers care about this big day?
It is a big day. It's the first National Healthcare Decision Day. The hospitals across Pennsylvania will be joining with about 60 prominent national organizations, healthcare, religious, legal, community, to encourage people to think about their end-of-life wishes, and not only think about them, get them in writing, and communicate those wishes to the people that need to know, their loved ones, their healthcare providers.
Do you think this is something that most of us put off? I mean, I'm actually thinking about whether I've done this or not. Now, and I know what you're going to say. Come on, you can say it.
If you don't know, you probably haven't done it. And I would guess that your loved ones don't know either what your wishes are. And so many people make the assumption that another person would make the same decisions that they would, and it's not true.
I mean, even if, I guess, if you have some discussions about this, plus this gets awful complicated, and as you know, we've had that now infamous Terry Shapiro, legal battle and decision. I mean, is that sort of the poster case for, the dilemmas and the legal problems that can exist?
It is. You can set up a battle between loved ones at a time that is heart-wrenching anyway. It's having your wishes in writing is a gift to yourself, to your loved ones, and to the dedicated health care professionals who take care of you and want to honor your wishes and respect you as an individual.
Yeah, now, exactly again, and this is a day, are hospitals going to avail them? I mean, are they going to make staff and others available on that day to chat with? Go through that a little bit, so if our viewers want to go to a hospital or try to figure out what to do on that day, they know what to do.
Hospitals in Pennsylvania and across the country, every state, there are hospitals in every state participating. There are 52 hospitals in Pennsylvania participating in 24 counties. To find out if your local hospital is participating, you can go to www.careforpa.org. And also on that site, besides a list of participating hospitals, you can download this Decide for Yourself brochure that was developed by HAP and the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Answers most of the most common questions on an advance directive, and it's specific to Pennsylvania. Yeah,
now, I mean, I guess then what you have to understand is that there's a process you need to go through in order to get this accomplished, this directive, and it needs to be done in a way to protect your wishes. Do I got that about right?
That's correct. Although Pennsylvania does not require a lawyer to be involved, nor does Pennsylvania require that it be notarized. Nor does Pennsylvania require a specific form. So those are some things you can take into consideration. It's always good to have a lawyer look at it, but it's not a mandate.
Do you have any? I mean, my estimation. I mean, I don't know much about this. That's why I'm glad we're doing this, and I'm glad you're here because it's not something. Do you think people are gaining more awareness of this than before? Is this, or is it still something that you think there's a huge number of people who've not kind of given this some thought?
The current statistics show that about a quarter of people have an advance directive, and of those with a diagnosed terminal illness, about 40% do. But on the other side of the coin, 40% of us in the next year will have someone close enough to us that we care about that will be diagnosed with a terminal illness. And we may be caught in the middle of a heart-wrenching decision.
Yeah, well, thank you. Now, here's what I promise you. I'm going to go home. I'm going to get my wife, and I'm going to go see so you at least help one person. Hey, thanks for watching this edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well, and we'll see you next week.